Welcome back to the Jimmy Dore Show. Craig Pasta Jardula here with Kurt Metzger and the big guy in the house. So we're going to stick with the Hawaii stuff because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. We've already opened up, you know, the questioning of what happened over here. There's a little clip from Fox News, you know, when, I don't know at one point when Fox News became what the liberal media was supposed to be, but they're just like flip-flop,
no
right? Like,
no kidding.
Like this, if you would have put me in a time machine, put me back 10 years ago, I would have thought that this came off MSNBC, maybe 12, 13 years, but Fox is doing stuff like this. Take a look at this video real quick.
Didn't Rupert Murdoch's kid take over?
While life in West Maui remains uncertain, one thing is for sure. Residents are furious over the local government's response. You see, typically, when there's a fire, you use water to put it out. But Maui's Department of Land and Natural Resources delayed the release of water to landowners to help protect their property from the wildfire. In fact, they even disputed the release of water for hours after the West Maui Land Company made a request to release it. Maui survivors are even telling reporters they had to grab water out of their toilets to fend off the flames.
I was grabbing water out of the toilet. I was grabbing water out of my Brita filter in the refrigerator. It's a kind of disconcerting feeling when the fire guys show up and they don't have water.
According to the deputy director of the Department of Land and Natural Resources, Kaleo Manuel, water isn't a tool.
We've become used to looking at water as like something which we use and not necessarily something that we revere. But that's totally different in this Western capitalistic kind of economy that we live in. It's very extractive, individualistic approaches. Let water connect us and not divide us. Like we can share it, but it requires true conversations about equity.
Last time I checked, water puts out fires. Progressive mumbo jumbo doesn't.
Wow.
Water wasn't the only issue during the wildfires that swept through West Maui. Residents had no idea a fire was coming until they stepped outside their homes and saw the flames on their doorsteps.
Those cars parked.
I did not receive a warning until I was already getting in my truck to get out of there. Not a single one of my roommates got a warning at all. We got, you know, the notice we had was just screaming from the streets.
Many took to social media, begging for answers as to why the local government refused to sound the alarm that a wildfire was rapidly approaching. But the state officials say no regrets.
Do you regret not sounding the sirens?
Right, no.
I do not. The sirens, as I mentioned earlier, is used primarily for tsunamis.
Officials neglected their duties to protect the people they claimed to represent. They had other priorities. Just like in 2019, when Hawaiian Electric vowed to invest in fire-resistant technology, and instead they invested nearly $85 million in climate change policies, like divesting from oil and investing in renewables. Now that same company is under heavy scrutiny over indication that its power lines may have ignited the wildfires that has now taken over 100 lives. And the people of the once beautiful town of Lahaina, many of them are left to fend for themselves and their neighbors with very little answers and a whole lot of miscommunication. And now they have to fight off vulture capitalists from tricking people into buying their property.
Some of the things that's already been happening is realtors are calling families who lost everything, offering them to buy their property and their home for pennies on the dollar, just pennies on the dollar. So it's pretty offensive to us that people won't even give us the time to grieve properly.
So like we said,
that's Fox News.
Yeah, that's Fox News, right?
I never thought I'd hear them
Fox
say
News.
Now, I could see them like, oh, good, a chance to talk about renewables, right? Because like that guy's stupid nonsense he was saying, he said that well before this. I assume in his
like
mind, he was, even though he screwed this up royally, by the way, I don't think he was in his head referring to if there's a fire. He was probably talking about golf courses or something, right?
Yeah.
But he's just an idiot anyway. I mean, the other guy.
But they did withhold the water for the fire. That's the thing. It doesn't really matter.
Did they give a reason at all?
I'm gonna go into some of it. There was some talk about some of the lines. Probably the pressure would have been messed up, but a lot of people are saying that's a bunch of hogwash, that it would have never happened.
Hey, come see us on Live on Tour. We're doing a show in New York City, Pottstown, Pennsylvania, Stamford, Connecticut, Toledo, Rochester, Michigan. That's just outside of Detroit. St. Louis, Tampa, Florida, Boca Raton, Florida, and Orlando, Florida. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets.